Good morning. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and I'm online this morning for another Charter Moms chat. And this week we've been talking about, um, what's coming up. What do we need to look forward to in the fall? How will things be different? What is summer going to be like? And one thing that's happening this week is we're getting a lot of news about what businesses can start to reopen. The situation in Texas is not as bad as we had feared as far as how many people are getting sick and how many people have to go to the hospital. And so that means that the governments are looking at what businesses can start to reopen. I've been researching that. I wanted to kind of share what I found and, talk about how this might affect your family life and education, and I'll be watching the comments. So if you know of a business that's reopening or you have a question about something, I'll share what I know or I'll try to find out. This is we're also talking about. We have a thread going in the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group. So if you're not already a member, I would encourage you to please join. Again, that's the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group on Facebook, and we're over 6,400 members. And since we have become they're accidental homeschoolers, although it's not really homeschooling, it's more like pandemic parenting, distance learning. The members of the group, we've been supporting each other, sharing resources, and talking about the issues that we're concerned about. This question of what what the future looks like as I've mentioned before, I'm a planner, and I want to try to anticipate what the future will be like. I try to think about what are the more challenging scenarios that we have to prepare for? What are some of the upside possibilities if things turn out better than we expect? Um, there's the possibility like um, I'm kind of assuming that schools buildings will reopen in the fall, but that things will look different. And if you want to, kind of hear more thoughts about that, go back to the Monday episode this week. And then um, one thing that's been on my mind is like, what will summer look like for my kids? So in a typical summer, we would have a few trips, like we'd go to a family reunion or we'd go to another city to visit friends. Clearly, those are off the table this summer. It's not safe to travel because, if you go to another city, you might take your germs with you, or you might pick up germs and bring them back. So it's safer to not be traveling to other cities. Um, the other thing is that it's still not clear whether summer camps will be offered in the summer or not. I'd say some institutions are already canceling them. Some of them are taking more wait and see approach. We had some discussion of this in the group. Like some members had already put down deposits on camps, and then they're waiting to find out maybe in early May, which is really just around the corner, whether those will be canceled or not, or if they'll get a refund. So anyway, Kat, thanks for that tip about the Girl Scout camps that you mentioned. So now, uh, earlier this week, Governor Greg Abbott announced that uh, phase one of businesses reopening in Texas can start as early as Friday, May 1st, which is wow, that's just around the corner. So, and we shared some links about like, what does phase one mean? What does that, and then, and it's one thing for the state to say, okay, this part of the order has been lifted. These organizations have um, the opportunity to open, but then what businesses are actually going to take advantage of that? And then how would that affect kind of our family life? Like, are these opportunities we would want to take advantage of, or are we going to, kind of continue to stay home and, um, you know, uh, find learning opportunities at home, or in the outdoors where we might not interact with as many people. April has a comment. She says creativity is key. We need to be wise and also flexible. Yeah, that's exactly the mindset that we need. Is that learning opportunities are everywhere, but we need to keep an open mind about where to find them. So, okay, I'm going to tab over to my thread that I had in the group to refresh my memory about what is open and what is not. Okay, so there's some specific examples of things that are open. So actually, the state parks opened last week. So those have been open for a few days now. And there are a few places that because they were in outlying counties or they just weren't impacted by it. So I know some families have been going to, like, kind of pick your own farms, like, since food is an essential business. There's a place called the Exotic Resort Zoo in Johnson City. It's kind of a drive-through animal attraction, and it's been open all along. Let's see. So there's it's kind of hard to describe. It's sort of like it's a place where people take selfies for Instagram. It's sort of a pop-up museum. There's a place called the Wonder Chamber. On the web, it's thewonderchamber.com, and so they're reopening on Friday. So it's an indoor space. It's a place where people go in small groups and take pictures. Let's see. Okay, so there's a movie theater in Shirts called Evo Entertainment, and they're opening on Monday. So I guess one of the interesting things about for movie theaters is that they have to I'm not going to get all the details right, but imagine it's like they're going to have to, like, every other row will be empty, and where you do sit, you'll be 6 feet apart from the person next to you. Like, it's I don't know, it's just weird to picture, what a movie theater would look like that. And it's got to be challenging for businesses. They can't sell as many tickets, they can't sell as many concessions, and they have to put a lot more resources into cleaning between patrons. So, it's not a given that it even makes sense for businesses to open. Okay, what else did I find? Okay, so Ingram Park Mall, which is kind of on the far west. Well, not really far west. It's kind of on the west northwest of San Antonio. So that's a Simon Mall, and that's going to reopen on Friday. Um, which I guess if there's a rainy day, you could go mall walking. Although the fact that the mall reopens, that doesn't necessarily mean that all the stores are going to reopen. I did see that Half Price Books, so they've been doing curbside, but they're starting to offer, or they're going to start reopening stores this weekend. I don't know about specific locations, like which stores in San Antonio will open this weekend or which ones will open later in May. But we've got a link in the group for information about Half Price Books reopening. And then, so the Rivard Report did a good report about restaurants, and a lot of the restaurants they talked to said that it just wasn't economically feasible for them to reopen with only 25% capacity. But they did specifically mention that the Los Barrios restaurants and some of the La Gloria restaurants are going to reopen. So again, it'll be interesting to see what that's like how things spread out. I think I also saw some of the Jason Dady restaurants are reopening, and in particular, I think that makes a lot of sense because some of his restaurants, like Two Rose Barbecue or Tre Trattoria, have a lot of outdoor style seating, and if there's open air and sunshine, that's a pretty good way to make things safer for everybody. So now, okay, well, I think a big question that's been on my mind is, like, when are the libraries going to reopen? Because that's actually one of the categories that can open in phase one. So according to the Rivard Report, there's a really good story by Sherry Beidiger. She's their business reporter. Let's see, let me find it. Okay, so libraries can open, but right now, San Antonio Public Library has not announced what their plans are. And some of our group members, like Becca Rio, our group moderator, she lives in a smaller community on the northeast side, and she messaged her local library, and they said they didn't know what their plans were yet for reopening. So as far as museums, like let's see, like the art museums, like Sama, McNay, Briscoe, they're the Woody, they told the Rivard Report that they are working on plans to reopen, but they don't know specifically what when they would open or what procedures. But they were talking about things like having like putting up like plexiglass dividers so that like at the check-in counter, you're not breathing on the employees and they're not breathing on you. If there are interactive exhibits, you might be using like a stylus, like sort of like a pen type thing, to be tapping on the screen instead of like touching it with your fingers, which is interesting. Um, and yeah, so it'll just be interesting to see like what aspects of that they can and can't do. I think one thing some of my friends have been posting about is like um, the Newseum, which is, I mean, it's just a wonderful place to learn. But with very young children, they tend to touch everything. Very young children tend to put things in their mouth. They touch their eyes. They they do everything wrong. Bless their hearts. Um, so it's interesting that Sherry from Revard Report, she interviewed Dan Menely, the CEO of the Newseum. So they're getting creative about how this could work. So, for example, they might add more hand washing stations. They might use ultraviolet light to sanitize the toys or the exhibits. They might, let's see. Okay, so get this. So they have added infrared sensors in each exhibit hall, and then they can tell, like by measuring body heat, like how many visitors are in that room at a certain time. That's how they can maintain the 25% capacity limit, which is interesting. Um, let's see, what else did they talk about? Okay, so what if they might have a closure at midday, right? So they would like open for a shift in the morning and then close in the middle of the day, have a go through and sanitize everything, and then kind of reopen for the afternoon. It's creative. I mean, that hadn't occurred to me that that would be a solution, but I have to respect people are really putting their thinking caps on, to try to how to try to make this work. Um, yeah, one of the things about the museum is that they do have a lot more outside space, right? I mean, they have the eastern side and the western side, um, big play equipment. You know, it does make you wonder. From the data I've seen, so I am not a public health expert, but uh, it seems like often people are getting stuff right, when they're getting exposed to germs. Sometimes it's a family member. Sometimes it's a situation where they're working pretty closely together. Unfortunately, healthcare workers are at high risk because they're very close to infected people. Um, for my family, the one thing that we go out of the house for is to go to nature, right? So we go on trail walks, and we go to the state parks, and I feel like by maintaining distance from other people and being out in the sunshine and fresh air, we're um, making ourselves a lot safer that way. We're still able to go outside, but be safe. Um, April has a really thoughtful comment here. She says, I do not recommend living in fear. We do need to research, understand how the virus lives in certain environments or spaces. We need to be informed to understand this particular virus. Yeah, that's really true. There's a lot we don't know about, like droplets, objects, surfaces, mists, aerosols, like there's just, the more data we get, the more we'll be able to plan. I think right now there's just a lot of guesswork going on, trying to, lighten the load and make sure that the hospitals are not in crisis mode. So, a lot of these changes, I guess I think I've shared just about all I know about specific businesses that are reopening. So it's not a whole lot, really. I mean, a few restaurants are reopening. It looks like half price books, maybe one of the malls, and we're still waiting on more information from the city. So like, for several weeks now, the playgrounds and outdoor sports equipment have been closed, and that might be one of the first things they reopen. I don't know, but for the time being, the playgrounds are still closed. Um, and from the governor's office, he talked about phase one, and then he talked about phase two, right? And so phase two, the date for that is May 18th, I think. And the question is, would things reopen? Uh, So for example, that would involve like restaurants could be at 50% capacity instead of 25. Um, and there's another set of businesses that could open. So for example, like the San Antonio Zoo, the zoos are not included in phase one. And there's a bunch of businesses like nail salons, hair salons, bowling alleys that are excluded from phase one. So, but in order for phase two to kick in, um, the data has to support that, right? As far as how many new cases there are, what the situation is at the hospitals, And if they reopen things too quickly and the number of cases starts to rise, then anything about phase two, any further loosening is going to have to be put on hold again. Um, so what does this mean for family life, right? I mean, I'll be really interested to hear like what, it sounds like the Newseum and the Witty and the Briscoe Museum are being really creative about, how they can bring patrons back into their spaces, but do it in a safe way. I don't know, you may have seen some memes going around about uh, being like, I probably won't be the first one to go. I wish you guys well. I'm just being honest here. We're pretty creative about keeping ourselves busy at home, and we're going to stick with the things that we feel like are the safest, which is going to involve lots of outdoors and fresh air. Um, there's still a lot of state parks we haven't been to lately, and a lot of walking trails that we have yet to cover. So, we're gonna because you know, we have my husband and I have jobs where we can work from home. We have elderly relatives that we're looking after. Um, we're gonna really this phase one is not gonna impact our lives that much. We're gonna pretty much keep doing what we're doing. But I well, so just before I got on this call, I was messaging with Becca, our group moderator, and she shared a link in the group about some really good reporting from the Express News about the local school districts and their budgets, and what challenges are they facing. So this is normally the time of year when districts would be sending out contracts for the teachers to hire them for next year. And what we're hearing anecdotally is that some of the districts are being slow sending out their contracts for next year. And it's making some teachers feel kind of nervous about, right? Are there going to be what's going to happen, what's happening with salaries, what's happening with job offers, are the districts going to be able to, you know there's so much, there was already a lot of uncertainty because even before coronavirus, because of there was so many legislative changes in the 2019 session, which looked all to the good, right? It looked like HB3 was going to send a lot more money to schools. It also was going to change the property tax situation, right? The idea of property tax relief. And then so much has changed since the 2019 legislature, right? Like the price of oil going to uh, zero or possibly negative because they have nowhere to store it. I mean, unthinkable things happening, and this is where this balance happens, right? If what if people can't pay their property taxes? Then where does the money come from to schools? And there should be some relief coming from the federal government, but state governments and school districts, they have to balance their budget. Um, so the article from the Express News talked to local districts that are looking at, are they going to have like pay freezes? Are they going to have hiring freezes? Are they looking at potentially having layoffs in the coming year? How are school districts going to address the fact that their budgets are getting squeezed because the economy really suddenly went into recession? And that's just an extra layer of stress on top of the teachers who miss their students and can't have a graduation ceremony and are having to learn distance learning right away. So yeah, and I wish there was something more positive spin I could put on that, but I can't. It just sucks. Like money's gonna be really tight in the coming budget, and it's just gonna be hard. So that's kind of the tension is like, um, you know, how can businesses safely reopen? How can we, how can people get back to work and, try to improve the economy so that there will be revenue to keep paying teachers because we really need them, right? So on that note, no. um, so yeah, I wish I had more like clear cut, like, hey, look at these places that are open where we can go. We're going to keep that thread going in the group as more announcements happen about what's reopening. For the folks who want to go out and visit those places, tell us how it goes. My family and I were going to play in the outdoors, but we're probably not going to go to a lot of indoor spaces for a while until um, just kind of like April's comment, we just need to understand more about this disease and how to be safe. So yeah, I guess tell me what questions you have, or if you hear about particular businesses that are opening, or what procedures they're doing to be safe. Comment or message, and I'm just curious about how this is all going to play out. Um, so we do have a guest tomorrow, and more on the theme of let's see. Well, I mean, something that's really important to me to get across in these chats is like mental health support, like for parents, for children, for families. So we had a guest last week. We had Dr. Becky Davenport, who's a LMFT, and she was talking about siblings. We have a guest tomorrow, Teresa Lawrence, and Teresa and I actually recorded a podcast together earlier in the spring, and we can't be in a podcast studio together, but we can have a chat together. So let me talk about what Teresa is going to be talking about. So she's been accepted in a program at Bridges Academy, um, and is focusing on the unique traits of twice exceptional students. So twice exceptional, if you're not familiar with that term, it means having giftedness, but also learning differences, right? So that could be um, kids with like ADHD, ADD, or autism, but who also have traits of giftedness. Um, so the twice exceptional combines both quirk and genius to form quirky genius. Um, let's see. So let's see. Teresa's goal is to earn an EDD in cognitive neurodiversity, specializing in educational programming. Okay, but this is the gist of what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Strength-based learning approaches where all learners can thrive, especially the sometimes hard to reach quirky geniuses. So I'm putting together a set of questions about strength-based learning, and what that means. So, like I said, providing emotional support for our online community in these times is really important to me. That's why I'm really excited to have Teresa as a guest, and I hope you will want to learn more about strength-based learning, and you'll join us at 9 a.m. tomorrow. All right, and then I'll be back on Friday, of course, and then I'll be taking a break over the weekend, probably going out in nature with my kids. So thanks for joining me, and I'll be online tomorrow with a guest. Okay, bye.